Hello and welcome to another episode of Swim Sets by the Pool. This is a podcast where we give you free swim workouts and tips on how to swim better. If you listen to this podcast, you will become a better swimmer. I'm Nathan Cohen, professional triathlete, swam one season in community college. With me is the Greg Harper, fresh off of dropping all the North American pros at 70.3 Michigan by a minute, folks.
Oh,
Greg.
that's it. Hey, and I'm also the world record holder in the 70.3 swim time. Main downriver, 14 minutes. Thank you, thank you.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but yeah, I'm Greg Harper. I'm a pro triathlete. I swam in the Olympic trials, and the workout that we have today was actually written by me. So I'll probably not say anything because it's the perfect set, as all are my workouts for anyone who I write them for. But yeah, here just to hear Nate's wrong takes about it if he wants to change anything.
Yeah, I just pretend to know what I'm talking about when it comes to swimming. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. But
We're all pretenders, and then that's you pretend so long that you're an expert. You're like, oh, I guess I do know what I'm talking about.
yeah, I'm kind of just trying to fake it till I make it. I'm hoping one day I'll just be at the Olympics and they'll be like, oh, everything Nate said must have been right.
You're doing a good work so far, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so Greg, what's your
Wait, let me give some context. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So this is like a 70.3 race week swim. That's kind of
Mm,
like what I titled it. Um, or Olympic distance, or even Ironman. I mean, this is a 3,600 yard workout. It's like kind of designed for like maybe a Wednesday type swim before a weekend.
hmm
Thursday, maybe if you swim more, you're a little bit more advanced. But yeah, that's kind of what I intended. It's nothing too crazy. I think in those race weeks where people maybe lighten the load on the bike and the run, if you're a triathlete, you can keep the swim volume kind of the highest relatively. So you're kind of keeping that aerobic engine going, without while the legs freshen up a bit. And that's something my dad taught me when I was young, very young, and talked about triathlons. Like, yeah, the second to the week prior to race week, big swim week, and then you can keep the swim volume decently high going into the race. Um, if you're going to taper on the other two. And he was eighth in the Ironman in 1986 in Hawaii, so he's good.
Nice. That's
But
pretty
yeah, there's
solid
some
advice.
there's some context for it, and yeah, we can break it down.
Nice. I have a question about this. So it's race week, you're doing a 70.3. How many days do you think for like the average age grouper they should take off of swimming? Should they take any days off? Or like if they were to take a day off of swimming, when should they do that in race week?
That's fair. I mean, I think you kind of keep a similar frequency to what you've been doing. You could even add in an easy swim or something if you just want to like float around. But if you swim 4 times, just yeah, maybe kind of swim 4 times. And I think people might be traveling like on a Thursday or Friday. So if it's hard to get in to swim one of those days, that's fine. I would say try to get in the day before.
Hmm
Um, but it can depend. I mean, you could even not swim the day before. I mean, if it's a lake and you're like it's dirty or well, I don't know, if you don't have access, it's okay. Like it's not that big.
hmm
I actually didn't swim the day before this race, this last weekend. I swam 22:03 in a 70.3 swim. And the day
hmm
before that, I swam 10 minutes in the lake.
hmm
So it was really 3 days out. I think I did this set pretty much.
hmm
I maybe tweaked it a little bit, like 30. I did this one like 3,300, and that kind of just carried me into the race in 2 days. But my feel of the water is really good too. So,
hmm
if you were trying to keep that frequency, feel the water, try to get in, I would say, the day before.
Nice. Yeah, that's solid. So I guess I'll just read the. Oh, wait, do you have a quick tip for us about this? Or is that kind of the quick tip?
Oh, yeah, we can. It'll. I'll talk more about it, but my quick tip
Hmm
was like do some butterfly this week.
Mm,
Um,
nice.
I just think it's really good for open water swimming. Hopefully you can swim butterfly without like killing yourself.
hmm
If you have to start with half laps, fine. Just
hmm
build up to it. Hopefully we can swim butterfly like relatively easy or like medium. It's kind of
hmm
medium. But if it's always hard, then yeah, maybe you need to work on your butterfly efficiency and it might help you in freestyle too. But yeah, some fly this week.
Nice. And that'll tie into the set too. But as
Hmm.
always, 500 easy choice. Okay, not always, but last week's set also had a 500 easy choice at the beginning. So, and then 12 by 25 in groups of three, no breath, easy, fly. And Greg was doing these on the 30. So probably getting at least 10 seconds rest, on each of these because he's not gonna.
Yeah, it's kind of like an easy mod interval, which
Yeah.
is kind of lingo I'll use, which is like 10 to 15 seconds rest or so.
hmm Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, if you're not swimming Greg's pace, just shoot for 10 to 15 rest on those 25s. Um, I like the no breath, then an easy, and then fly, and then you go right into another no breath. So
Hmm.
that'll be a little harder, but then it's easy after. So it's like
Yeah,
it's just up and down with your emotions. You're like, ah.
kind of getting the lungs warmed up is, how I see it from my perspective.
hmm
Um, yeah,
How many times do you breathe when you're doing a 25 fly? Or like, do you breathe every two strokes or every three?
I'm like in every other most of the time.
hmm
Um, I would say if you're trying to learn to fly, try to do that. I mean, breathing every stroke, there are a lot of fast people who do it, but most people end up swimming uphill as they get tired. So
hmm
you really need to keep your head down and push your head and chest way down so your hips come up. And it's easier for people to do that when they're not breathing sometimes. So I would say that's a decent. And then if you can't really take like a bunch of strokes without a breath because then you're going to gasp for air. So I would say every other is a good breathing pattern to shoot for. That's a good question. I never really thought about that when telling people to do fly. That's important.
Yeah, for sure. And it's hard, but try not to lift your head too high out of the water when you're doing fly. I see a lot of people, they just go like their face is like straight up and down when they come out of the water and they're just like full face like into the water. Just try and like, and it's going to take some practice, but just try and like just barely lift that head out of the water enough so you can get a breath and then like put it back in a
Yeah,
little more streamlined.
definitely. I always kind of thought about like changing the pitch of your chest a little bit, like
Mm.
and driving kind of with your forehead. Um, like you would if you're riding your bike and your head's down, but you're looking up. That's kind of like the idea. And I always thought. But yeah, that's a really good point. And that goes with the same thing where you're just climbing out of the water. Then it gets very difficult.
Yeah, for sure. I swam the 4 a.m. in college, so it starts with a 100 butterfly, and it was tough. I definitely felt like, especially in the beginning when I was like new to it, I was swimming uphill at the end of that 100. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and like most 4 IMers, like the flies like feeling easy. Like so they're
hmm
so super efficient. So
hmm
that's what we're all striving for, even though it's easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure. Sweet. And then yeah, it's not a super long warm up. I mean, 800, but it's also race week, so you don't want to like go crazy. And also, I think it's okay to have shorter warm-ups on some sets because when you're racing, you don't always get a ton of time to jump in the water before the race, especially in triathlon. So, and sometimes you don't get any time to jump in the water, really, If like something happens on your bike and you need to fix it, like in transition, then you're like, oh shoot, I'm just throwing on my wetsuit. And I'm like, oh, now I gotta start. Um, so yeah, it's good to every once in a while know like, oh, I've done sets where I swam well and I didn't have a super long warm up. Just kind of to keep in your back pocket every once in a while.
Yeah, and for your mentals too. Like, okay, I've been here. It's
hmm
okay, right? Yeah, no, that's a super good point. And even if you have 10 minutes before a race, it's like you swim out, but you don't want to miss the start, so you're kind of going back. It's just like it's not 10 minutes of swimming, it's like five. And
hmm
then you're sitting out there for three, and you're like, damn, I wish I was still in the water warming up. And then it's never as perfect as you want. So that's definitely a good point.
Yeah, for sure. And last little note on swim warm-ups for triathlon and 70.3s is if you have someone there supporting you, have them bring a towel so when you get out of the water, you can kind of like put it over yourself and like especially over your shoulders and like stay warm. Because if the air temp is a little cool, because oftentimes these 70.3s start at like 6 in the morning or like 7 in the morning, It's like
Yeah.
the sun's barely coming up. The point of a warm up is to like warm up. So you want to stay warm. You don't just want to like warm up and then get all shivering and stuff as you're like waiting for your wave to start.
Yeah, definitely. And in this race, I did one more thing, and then we'll actually get into it.
Yeah.
This race I did last weekend, I was like our race was at 750, or was from 740 to 750, but the age group was from 710 to 740. But we started at 750. The pro women started at 8, and the age group started at 810. So people were warming up and they had to get out 30 minutes
Oh
before
wow.
their race. And it's just like at that point, if the water's nice and you're like, but the water wasn't super warm, like don't go in. It doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Like go on a little jog or something. Unless you're really nervous and you want to practice, and that's good for your kind of, we said, as Marshawn Lynch
Hmm.
says, mentals, not your like mental game. But if that's good for your mentals, then go ahead and do it. But yeah, there's no point to get out and just stand around for 30 minutes or even
Nice.
10. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've done the warm up. Now it's 3 rounds of 5 by 100 plus 5 by 50. And the hundreds are steady on, and Greg wrote 10-ish seconds rest. So don't be freaking out if it's like 12 seconds or if it's 8 seconds, just around 10
Yeah.
kind of
7
thing.
to 12, we'll say.
7 to 12. Yeah. And then 50s, squeeze the effort down 1 to 4 to faster than race pace. Number 5 is easy backstroke, easy slash moderate interval. So break that the hundreds are pretty straightforward, but
Hmm.
break those 50s down for us.
Yeah, I try not to put too much like specific this pace. It's like we're doing 450s, just squeeze the effort down, get a little faster on each one, and the last one you're going faster than you would in the race. And especially in that race week, it's kind of about the feels. So they want to just like squeeze it down, feel good, slight descend, and you don't have to get too boggled down in the times. But yeah, it's the sets, you do a little bit of aerobic work and then you do some 50s descend, and then it's 3 rounds. So you go back. I mean, in the end, there's not that many 50s, but this is kind of race week. Like we're just kind of keeping the arrow sharp while still
Mhm.
kind of getting in like this aerobic. Oh, a little faster. Okay, back and a little faster. I mean, maybe the 50s get a little harder as the set goes on, but yeah, that's kind of my whole thought with this set. And I think touching speeds a little faster than your race pace in the week prior is probably a good thing.
Mhm.
With overall stress is low.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And if you're an age grouper who's not swimming like 4 or 5 thousand yard sets because you like don't have time or whatever, or you're not quite there yet, you don't necessarily have to do 3 rounds. If you want to try this in your next 70.3, you could do two or one or whatever. Like you kind of know your level and everything you can kind of like adjust, like a little bit. And like it's better if you fit it to where you're at than try and just like do someone else's thing. Like Greg has many, many years of swim experience, so you don't have to like do Greg's set like to the T. Greg said 3 rounds. I gotta do 3 rounds. You can do two. It'll be fine.
Definitely. No, that's such a good point. Um,
Hmm.
Yeah, and if anyone ever does a set or something like, and you want it tweaked or something, yeah, just send us a message too. Be like, oh, I swim 10,000 a week. Like, is this set too big? It's like, yeah, maybe. Like, let's cut out a round, or let's
Hmm.
skip the polling at the end or something. So, yeah, that's a really good point. And that's what coaching. You have to take some ownership for yourself too. Like,
Hmm.
we have to be able to find our piece so they get better for ourselves, because in the end no one can do it for you. So you have to learn yourself, and don't just do what someone says. Like, ask questions, and yeah, you got to learn for yourself. That's how you get better.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, follow Greg on Instagram, follow me on Instagram. If you guys ever have any questions about these kind of things, we totally just shoot us a message. We both don't spend that much time on social media, so it might be a delayed response, but eventually we'll get to it.
But it'll
Uh,
be a good one because we're thoughtful in our swim
we
advice.
are. Just say, oh, they're just taking 4 days to think about their response. Like that's how much thought they put
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah.
Anyways, so then 475s pull with buoy and band, and then yeah, warm down 250 easy with some backstroke in there. Greg, you love your backstroke.
I do. Yep. I'll say one thing about the poll. If you don't have a band, that's fine. Or if it's like you're already feeling a little tired or something, like you can always skip this or just,
Hmm.
yeah. But yeah, in terms of the backstroke, we've said it before, we're so tight in the front of our bodies. We sit, we run, we cycle. The backstroke where you just are kind of like opening up. Um, when I think it was 12 when I decided that I had to do basically 100 to 200 of backstroke, and every 500 I was like, when I would get in the pool for like a race or something, I would do 500 and always would do 100 or 200 of it at backstroke every single race. Like, and I learned that when I was really young, so I love it just because it's just like you keep the front of the body open. The triceps are so important, and like just trying to stay loose and long before swimming fast, and loosening up after hard stuff too. So I've always just been a massive fan. I think, yeah, everyone should be. You better
Nice.
be.
And when you say pull, that's with paddles too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
some
That's what
some
paddles
people
too.
think just the buoy. It's when we say pull, me and Greg, it's
Yeah,
buoy and paddles and
yeah,
paddles.
100%. Unless it specifically says no paddles, then it has paddles, right?
Yeah,
Yep,
that's exactly how I would say it. So yeah, if you're reading our sets in the show notes, and whenever it says pull, that's also with paddles and the buoy.
yeah. I did a version of this set. Um, Probably like 6 or 7. I probably did 7 rounds of this set in like the 2 weeks prior to my race.
Mm,
Um, and I hadn't been swimming that much, but what I did, I changed it. It's the 5 100s and 550s. It was 4 of them were butterfly and one easy backstroke. So basically, I would do 5 1s plus 450s fly plus a 50 easy back, and none of it was like threshold or even like. I mean, the fly can be a little tempo-y, but it's short, because it's. I wasn't swimming particularly fast, but it just like was a solid aerobic and then the shoulder workout, and I did a bunch of rounds of it, and I really kind of liked that flow, and I swam super well at Michigan. So yeah, like we said earlier, I think butterfly can be a really useful tool. Actually, when I swam Alcatraz, like the triathlon one year in college, and I had not been swimming at all. And I was like, shoot, how am I gonna? I remember going to the pool like that week, and I swam a 500 butterfly straight. And then the next day, I swam like 600, and then I didn't swim. And then the next day, I swam, and like I pretty much drafted Andy Potts. I mean, like I'm very good at swimming and I have this base to pull through, but it primed my shoulders to get ready so then I could had a chance to like sustain it. I wouldn't recommend doing that for anyone, but I just think it can be a powerful tool if used effectively, and try it to see if it works for you.
hmm Yeah, definitely. I mean, doing stroke is so valuable for open water swimming. I've been integrating it into my swim sets a lot more, and it's just like it's super great. And like I have this one friend who swims for UCSB, and he went to this year's Olympic trials for I think 4 IM and breaststroke. Um, and he did Ironman Canada with me like a few weeks ago, and we were like warming up the day before, and he was doing some breaststroke like in the lake, and he was swimming as fast as me, swimming freestyle, so and he was doing breaststroke. It was incredible. Um,
Nice.
and he did some fly like in the lake and stuff, and I mean, he's a great swimmer, so
Yeah.
great. Greg does that. This guy does it. I watch people do it, and eventually I'll do it as well.
Yeah, I try to flex on people when I do it sometimes in race warm-ups. Like I'm with all the pros and I just like do some butterfly or like do
hmm
some breaststroke, and they're like, damn, that breaststroke looks kind of good. Like I can't do that. I'd be like, yeah, what's up? Like, yeah, here we go.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's important for warm-up too, but also mind games. So if you start
hmm
doing some fly in front of your competitors on the rate, they're gonna be like, all right, this guy's good. Watch
Yeah.
out.
Oh yeah, 100%. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is a solid set. I'm pretty sure if you guys do this set, you'll swim sub 23 minutes at your next 70.3.
Guarantee it,
Guarantee it. 100%.
or your money
Um,
back.
or your money back. Yeah. And yeah, no, I mean, this is a fun set. I mean, this is a cool race week set. Honestly, like I might try and do this. But yeah, just out of curiosity, this is my last question. What were you swimming for those hundreds steady?
Yeah, so I was probably swimming 103, 104 short course yards, and I would do them on the 110.
hmm
So I mean it was not that much rest, I would say, for most of the time. And that's
hmm
like generally feels pretty good for me. It's like probably
hmm
zone 2 type swimming. It's not like, but that's the thing. Like I didn't swim any fast. I didn't do like any thresholdy type stuff really in the last few weeks. But different backgrounds. You got to do what you got to do. I wouldn't say you can get away with that. If you're most people, you probably have to swim a little harder. So, you could even change this where you do the hundreds on the second round, like tempo a little bit faster. Maybe you want to get a little bit more like breathing, and that would be good too. Maybe you only do 2 rounds. So there's different tweaks, and not everything I do or Nate does is going to be perfect for you, but you can take fundamentals and you try to work with that.
Hmm. Okay, well, we're gonna close out. It's my hot take. My hot take of the week is swim for 3 weeks and don't do an interval longer than 100 yards, and you'll still get better at swimming. You don't need to do these long intervals to get good at swimming. Swim for
Heck
three
yeah.
3 weeks, hundreds or less. If you really want to go crazy, just swim 50s and just focus on form. That's it. That's
I
the
love
hot
it.
take.
Just like the set that was written, besides the easy swimming warm up, there's nothing longer than 100 on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And yeah, there's people who swim way too long and they think it makes them hard, but it just makes you slow.
Stop practicing swimming shitty, guys. All
Yep.
right.
Okay, well, thanks for listening to this episode, you guys. We started a Patreon a little while ago. The link to that will be in the description of this podcast. If you guys want to check it out, support us on Patreon. And yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see our nice faces on YouTube and the swim set and all that stuff.
Yeah, and
And
you can get some extra swim workouts from us if you do. And yeah,
yeah.
send us a video of you swimming if you do as well, and we'll happy to chat about it.
Yeah, awesome. Also, our Instagram links are in the description, so you can follow us, message us if you have questions on swimming. Message us your swim sets. It'll be fun. Thanks for listening, you guys. Greg, you have any last words to say to the people?
Cheers, mate.
Awesome. See you guys. Bye.